welcome to our conversation. Will they buy again or will they vanish? How to follow up on holiday sales. My name is Valerie Craig, and I'm the Senior Director of Design at ActiveCampaign, and I am thrilled to be here with two incredible experts, Brianna Doe and Val Geisler. I would love to start out by getting a little intro to each of you, if that's okay. Brianna, I'd love to learn a little bit more about you.
Definitely. So I'm the founder of Verbatim, which is a full service marketing agency, but we specialize in content growth and influencer marketing. Typically work with D2C e-commerce and B2B SaaS brands. I also have a newsletter called This Could Have Been an Email, which is about all things entrepreneurship and influencer marketing, as well as a podcast called Stop the Scroll, which, surprise, all about influencer marketing as well.
Wonderful. Welcome. Val, could we learn a little bit about you?
Yeah, definitely. Hi, I'm Val Geisler. I am the VP of Customer Marketing at Digio and have spent a very long time in the world of e-commerce, both on the SaaS side and the brand side and agency side. So I've kind of done a little bit of everything in e-commerce, and I'm just super happy to be here.
Well, welcome. Welcome both. I'd love to start out by going through what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to focus across 4 different topics. First being thinking beyond holidays and having post-season strategies in place for your brand. Second, building customer loyalty through value and service. Our third topic is going to be prompt your way to success, thinking through those AI strategies. And then we're going to end with automate post-purchase journeys. So I'd like to set the scene before we get into our topics by saying sales. We've just completed our Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, and Cyber Monday sales and promotions. This year, we're expecting 183.4 million shoppers in store and online through the Thanksgiving weekend. And it's a huge opportunity for us to take the sales and the new customers that we've just met and build relationships with them. So we're going to hop into our first topic in talking about thinking beyond those holiday promotions. So as we hop into our first topic, thinking beyond holiday promotions, we want to create a long-term engagement plan. Shift the thinking from sale to being part of your customer's life beyond just a transaction. Why is this important? Year-round engagement builds loyalty and trust with your customers. And those customers that you're engaged with throughout the year are more likely to come back during those key seasons. Some strategies for thinking through and engaging year-round would be educational content. So you can create and share blogs or videos to help customers maximize your product use, share tips and guides for purchasing. I want to ask Brianna, when developing educational content, how do you recommend we get started with demonstrating value or expertise through our content?
Yeah, I think the first thing to remember is that you are not your customer. Yes, there can be overlap, but it's really important to take a step back and think about what your customers actually find valuable. Like, what information are they looking for? How can you best support them, especially when they're doing, shopping like this? So thinking first about the content that would be most useful, most impactful. I love what you shared here about like tips and guides for purchases, like how to style your winter scarves for spring. Like, find ways to incorporate what they're already buying, what they're already doing into the content, instead of trying to force them into engaging with content that you created without them in mind.
Excellent. Thank you. Another strategy that you can consider for your brand would be community building, encouraging your customers to connect with your brand socially. You can invite them to join groups or to be part of your campaigns. Brianna, I want to ask you as well, when you're building a community online with your customers, what are things to keep in mind as you develop this strategy for your brand?
Yeah, this is one that I'm a little passionate about. I think first and foremost, it's so important to understand why you're doing this. Like, why are you building community online? What does this mean for your brand? Like, what value, to your point about content, what value are you providing for your customers or for your audience? Like, if you're just posting online or building community just to do it, your audience will kind of know. Like, the content won't feel, I know it's a bit of a cliche term, but it won't feel authentic, right? It won't feel like it's actually valuable for them. So give them a reason to actually engage with you. And that starts with understanding why you're doing it. And then past that, know your audience. goes back to my point about you're not always your customer. So where is your customer, your audience hanging out online? What kind of content actually resonates with them? Like how would they already be engaging or connecting with brands socially? Then how can you integrate into that with your own, like unique flair or unique take? So, I mean, the goal overall is to just know your audience really well and then build your strategy around them, centered around them and what is impactful for them, not what you think, is the coolest or like the most interesting.
Wonderful. Thank you. In addition to that, as we think through our key strategies, another opportunity would be offering exclusive member only perks. So this could look like early access to a line or a beta or VIP rewards, different things that your brand can offer to your customers to keep that exclusive member only feel. Val, as a retention enthusiast, I'm wondering, what are your thoughts on how effective perks and rewards are for continued engagement throughout the year?
Yeah, I'm gonna echo what Brianna said, that you are not your customer. And I think we as marketers and brand side people, we tend to have opinions about these things that our customers don't necessarily have. Um, so there's kind of two sides to the coin here. One is like, oh, perks, rewards are really valuable, and your customer just doesn't think so. They don't connect with the perks or rewards that you're offering. So they might be valuable, but you're not offering the right ones. So I think it's really important to know what matters to your customer. Some are early access. I was a early access member. I downloaded a brand's app so I could have early access. They is a protein powders, and they relaunched seasonal flavors that were kind of retired, but they brought them back for the holidays, and people who had the app got first access. So they got an app download from me. Which guaranteed my opt-in to their emails and their SMS as well. And then, that also pretty much secured a purchase out of me as well, right? And like knowing, oh, I'm going to download this app means I'm probably going to participate in this hidden or retired flavor release, right? That kind of thing can be really impactful if you know that that's what your customers want. I've seen brands also offer things that are not related to their brand necessarily. Well, they're related, but they're not download our app or something like that. It's more, I've seen like brands offer a 3 months free on this meditation app. They did a partnership where they offered, something else that's related, but not necessarily their own product or even offering a discount on their product. So there are definitely ways to do rewards, to do perks, to give that early access, to give bonuses, to give member only rewards. But you have to do it in a way that's meaningful for your customers. And typically that means talking to them. Most people don't know what they want. So it's that Henry Ford problem of like, if you ask them what they want, they want to say a faster horse. So you kind of have to give them some ideas and options of which one of these is most appealing to you, and kind of throw some different options at them. Some things that are discounts, some things that are product related, some things that are partnerships that you might have. And you don't have to do any of it, but gather the information, get the feedback, especially from your most loyal customers. They're the folks who are going to opt into those things right away. So know your customers, know that you are not your customer, but know that those things do work if they're the right things.
Can I add something on top of that too? I love that you brought up brand partnerships, because I will say some of my most successful campaigns that I've run online have been where we were partnering with other brands that were either in like a similar space or just, to your example, 3 months to a meditation app. And I think that's one thing to keep in mind too, is your customers and your audience don't stop existing once they stop engaging with your brand. like they have other interests, they are engaging with other companies online, they're purchasing from other companies. And so finding out what else resonates with them and then partnering with those brands, I think it's a really cool and creative way to, I don't know, create a more like holistic takeover of the internet, for lack of a better term. So that's just something to consider. I think people could utilize that a lot more.
It also makes you um, a, a valuable part of their lives versus a brand that sells a product they use, right? When you give them something, when you open them up to like, okay, maybe this is a meditation app that I've never used, but I have 3 free months, so I'll give it a try. And then I actually start using it and I like it. Well, this brand that gave me those 3 months, that matters to me now, right? Like you're providing value that's beyond your brand. I think that those are the things that matter a lot to consumers today. That those experiences that go beyond buy more of our product.
Those that give me so many ideas. Even in like a small addition onto that is experiences. It made me think of something that my kids belong to, and beyond the membership there, they offer meetups. Meet us here. Let's go to this experience together and have that sense of community through their brand, which is really unique and cool. It's like taking over the internet and maybe a little bit of your actual real life community.
Yeah, I love how the more online we get, the more offline experiences people are starting to crave again. It's an interesting cycle, right? So I love that that's making a comeback.
Yeah, like direct mail, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
who would have
exactly.
thought?
Wonderful. I would love to shift now or build upon really from this into our second topic, which is building customer loyalty through value and service. So, as we think through shifting from a seasonal shopper to a loyal customer, how can we build those relationships and show our customers that we care about their needs? Some ways that this matters, that this is important to think about. You want to shift from just a transaction, as we've really started discussing already, into a relational relationship, and then building loyalty by offering more than just discounts. Again, we've already kind of started discussing this, but like how we can demonstrate to those customers that we care about more than just that transaction. So, ways that we can think about doing this first would be gathering feedback, keeping your customers engaged through surveys and reviews, or getting to know your customer through quizzes, forms. These are ways that you can gather really valuable customer data, and then you use that data to have meaningful, personalized communications with your customers. Val, I want to ask, in your recent guided selling best practices playbook, you talk about quizzes fueling true personalization across channels. How should we think about getting started with one-to-one personalization? And from there, how do we scale it?
Yeah, quizzes are pure zero party data. It is your customers telling you exactly what they're interested in. Even if, depending on the questions you ask, it might tell you how old they are or where they live or how many children they have, right? Depends on your brand, the questions you're going to ask. But those things are going to inform your strategies beyond that. That's something that people ask us all the time at Digio is like, okay, well, I built this quiz and, I see all these brands that have quizzes. And so we want to have a quiz. But then what do we do with all this information? And I think that that's where like the world is your oyster. You have this information and there's a little bit of like your customer now actually expects you to use it. So nothing worse than say a brand asking you, are you here to shop for men's or women's clothes? And you say women's clothes, and then you get emails about men's clothes. And it's like, I clicked the button. I don't understand why I'm still getting this information. So there is a little bit of like, you do need to use the data once you have it. So make sure you're asking the right things. But then there's also the opportunity side of it, which is, yeah, you do get to, to your point on the slide of understanding someone's geographic location and being able to speak to the climate or holidays specific to that region. Um, In a lot of cases for skincare brands, they want to talk about how they want to know how old their customers are, what age bracket they fall in, because different products are right for different ages. And you can even go so far as to customize the images that your customer sees in their emails, or you can use it in ads to relate back to them. So if somebody says that they are 50 plus and they have dry skin, if they get an ad that shows a woman who is clearly over the age of 50 and has copy about dry skin, that's going to resonate more with them than just kind of a generic branded ad. So really leveraging the data that your customers give you is, there's a million ways you can do it, but making sure that you are doing it so that they'll continue to give you additional data, and it actually helps facilitate that sale. We call it guided selling because you're really helping them move through the process to the sale when you're able to use those data points they give you to help them choose the right products.
Awesome. Thank you. To build upon that, there other considerations would be exclusive offers, incentivizing your purchases with loyalty discounts. Um, and then, as you started to touch on, is segmentation. Now that we have this data on our customers, we can start to organize them into segmented groups. And this organization will allow us to communicate with them in a relevant and meaningful way, just as you just described. Is there anything else, Val, when we're thinking about using that data and creating these segmented groups of customers, anything that we should keep in mind in how we approach them now that we have them in these groups, what that continued communications look like?
Yeah, like I said, your customers want you to use the data that they've given you. So making sure that you're not asking the same thing over and over again. I always try to think about recreating an in-person shopping experience online. So no matter the time of year, this is applicable all year round. If you walked into a store and the retail associate said, "Hey, what are you here shopping for? I'd love to help," or, "Are you looking for anything in particular?" And you say like, "Oh, I need some new work shirts." And then they took you over to the dresses. That'd be very confusing. Like, I just said to you as a person that I need some new work shirts. Or if you get to the work shirts and then they say, "What are you here shopping for?" And they ask you again, it's really confusing. And I think we do that in online, perhaps unintentionally, but we do create these experiences where we're showing the same pop-up. So we're asking them to opt into an email when they clicked through from an email. Like those experiences, you really want to walk through your own customer's journey on your website as though your website was a retail store, and you're really that retail person walking the new shopper through the store. Um, Take a minute to go through what that customer journey is like on an incognito browser, on a new computer, on someone else's computer, on your phone, especially because, at least for us, most of our brands, 60+% of their traffic is mobile. In some brands' cases, it's over 80%. So you really want to know what that experience is like on mobile. Is it completely overwhelming? Are you giving them pop-ups and sliders and teasers and banners, and it's like all over the place? We've all had those very overwhelming experiences. Or are you segmenting properly so that only certain people see those certain messages? And once you have collected a piece of data, that message is no longer visible. You're not asking for the data again and again. So really take the time to go through that customer journey. And I even tell people to actually put a credit card in. On the brand side, we often like use a coupon code and purchase using a coupon code, and then our systems know it's us buying because we've set things up in that way on the back end. So we don't get the true customer experience. So use a new email address, use an actual credit card, make a purchase, experience what your customers are experiencing and really think about, like, is this, as a consumer, because we're all also consumers, as a consumer, is this a journey that I appreciate, or what can I change? Because I guarantee you there's at least one thing you can change to make it better.
I love that framing of being in a store and what that interaction might look like when you're thinking about your customer's journey.
Mm. Yeah, it's really important. We forget that there are actual human beings on the other side of the computer screen, and there are, and so we have to treat people like people. To Brianna's point, like, let's bring some of that real life back into our digital world.
With that, let's step into a more digital space. Our next conversation topic is prompt your way to success. In the last year, we've seen huge leaps in our marketing tool set in the form of AI. AI meaning in our marketing setting, using artificial intelligence and machine learning to automate and optimize our marketing tasks across channels. I know at ActiveCampaign, we've implemented features like automating from a prompt and creating campaign from a prompt. We even have a calendar that tells you the best time that you should send emails, amongst other features. But what we're doing here is we're really letting AI help. The ways that you can do this is by employing AI to do tedious work and improve your efficiency, or you can lean on AI for on demand expertise, right in that moment, as well as data driven decisions. So, how should you build your AI tool set? A few ways to think about this would be first, website personalization. You can utilize these tools to personalize your website based on visitor behavior. You could recommend products and services based on their browsing history, their geo, their other demographics, to set up that experience to be just just right for them. Preferably using the data that we just discussed. I'm wondering, Val, at Digio, you specialize in personalization, and what is important for us to keep in mind as we begin setting up these personalized digital experiences like our websites?
Yeah, I think making sure that you're doing that, taking that segmentation practice and putting it to work with your AI tools as well. And AI can look like a lot of things. It can look like a chatbot. It can also look like just the way that you build out your experiences. So if you have a subscriber, so somebody who is a monthly subscriber, bi-monthly, or whatever your subscription cadence is, you have a subscriber, you can give them a different digital experience when they hit the site than someone who's not a subscriber. So maybe someone who is a subscriber gets a message that encourages them to subscribe, and they get some kind of special offer or a free gift or something. Whereas your subscribers are going to get messaging that's, to redeem their free gift for being a 3 month long subscriber, or to just a welcome back, like being able to say welcome back to someone when they appear back on your website. It's a really simple setup on the back end, but it makes a huge difference to those customers. They feel really seen and valued. So I think thinking about AI not just as, chatbots and things that kind of answer questions for you, but also as, like, what is the automated experience that people are having when we think about that segmentation. Your segments might be very dynamic, and people move in and out of them. So your non-subscribers become subscribers, and they move out of that non-subscriber segment. But the customization piece is what's really important, and that applies to your chatbots too. Maybe your subscribers have a different welcome message from the chatbot. Maybe your non-subscribers have a prompt from the chatbot to ask them to subscribe. There's all kinds of opportunity in the way that you leverage your AI. But to me, it's like the foundational piece is thinking about those segments of customers you have and making sure that they have a unique experience.
Awesome. Thank you. Another way that I think is very popular, and maybe a little bit controversial is content creation. I I live in the world of design, and it's sometimes a hot button issue. So another way you could employ AI is through content creation on your social or your blog. AI tools can help you generate, as we know, social media posts, blog content, ad copy. These tools can save you a lot of time by helping you create quickly as well as iterating quickly to help you find that right tone, and maybe language for your customers. Brianna, as a content creator, what's important to keep in mind if we choose to use AI for content creation? And I have a second part. In a recent issue of your newsletter, you kind of said it a little bit early on authenticity. In your newsletter, this could have been an email, you talk about authenticity. How can you use AI and still be authentic as a brand? And how important is that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I do think it's a bit of a controversial or polarizing issue. At the end of the day, I agree with what you said earlier. AI is incredibly useful when you're using it to be more efficient or to kind of do the like tedious work or the mundane work or the evergreen stuff, right? It becomes a bit of a slippery slope when you start integrating it into your processes and workflows for content creation. I do see the value in it. It's yeah, it's learning quickly. It's a great way to kind of churn out content faster if that's something that you need. I will say, it being a controversial issue, the consensus that I'm seeing online from on different platforms is that consumers are suspicious of it. They're suspicious of AI generated content. They will look to see if they can, see evidence that it's AI generated. And at the end of the day, it all should point to one objective. Are you still creating content that aligns with your brand voice, that aligns with your audience, that resonates with them, and that allows you to actually build like connections and to engage with your audience? If AI is not helping you do that for any reason, then it's not an effective use, and you just need to pivot a bit, right? Maybe implement it in other ways. Um, the issue is that, yes, like AI is learning quickly, but it's still, in my opinion, I'm curious what you two think, but in my opinion, it cannot replace the voice of like your content strategist or your copywriter or, I mean, fill in the blank, really. So using it to offset the amount of time that you're spending on creating content is useful. Using it to replace the human that's writing the content or creating the content, I would never, I would never, vote for that. One example of how I use it, I don't use it to create content, but what I will do is for my newsletter, for example, I'll write the whole newsletter, plug it into ChatGPT and say, like, do not rewrite this, do not revise it. Just tell me what you read and see as the main takeaways to see if it's still like clear and resonating and to make sure I'm not rambling. So I think there are a lot of really creative ways to use AI. To Val's point earlier, I don't think content creation, as a whole should be how we utilize it, at least not yet. And to your second question, I do think you can use AI and still be authentic, but it just, relates back to my point about the way in which you're using it and how much you're relying on it. It can't replace a human with content creation. And the minute you start trying to use it in that way, your audience will be able to tell your content's just going to look more robotic. It's just harder to keep connecting. And I also think content creation is a muscle that you need to keep working as marketers, as creatives. And if you start relying on artificial intelligence to too great of an extent, that muscle will start to weaken. But I am curious what you two think.
Yeah, I come from a conversion copywriting background, and I think there's two places where in the world of writing content creation, people get stuck, and that's where I love to leverage AI, and that is to the start. Staring at a blank page doesn't help anybody. And so getting a couple of prompts from AI is helpful in that way. Or to say, I need to take this recording of my rambling thoughts when I was out on a walk and turn it into something. You can throw a transcript into ChatGPT and ask it to give you an outline, and then that gives you a starting point. Or the other places, writing conclusions. Maybe this is just me, but writing conclusions are one of my I kind of am always like, there it is, the end, but that's not great reading. So I do often ask AI to your point, like summarize it. Let me know what big key takeaways, right? Help me write a conclusion to this piece. So not telling it to write the conclusion, but to say like, what are the key takeaways? What are the things that, if you learn nothing else, should be, going with you after you read this? And then that helps me then sit down and write the conclusion. Anytime that you can get out of your own head and ask an AI tool to kind of get you over that hurdle, I think that that's where it does come in really handy. And then obviously I'm the human and finish the work. But yeah, I don't see it as a replacement for actual humans, not yet. There might be a future where we pull up the recording of this and laugh at ourselves, but I really hope not. I think AI is a great tool, and it will continue to improve. And the more you use it, the more it knows you and your writing style and all those things. But it's really like, to me, it's get out of your head kind of when you feel stuck. Go and check in with ChatGPT, but maybe don't start there.
I totally agree. I agree with both of you. I think you nailed it. Like AI is a partner, a creative partner to kind of mix things up and try something new, or get creative with your prompts. I think can help get us to a place that maybe we wouldn't have thought of on our own, at least that day. But it's a tool, right? At the end of the day, it's a tool, and it's how we use it. Without our input, I don't think today, I love that like looming, like tomorrow could be different, but today feel really important that we're present with our tools and in their use. So my last, or not, it's not, so my next on the slide is thinking about solving customer issues. These are kind of straightforward things that you could use a chatbot for. So Salesforce research tells us 83% of customers expect to engage with someone immediately when they're contacting your company. And a way that you could do this is through a bot. So you could implement an AI-powered chatbot that could answer customer questions for you and be available 24/7. Could help you book appointments. It can help you guide customers through the purchase process. And that's like a nice, simple, straightforward use. And I wonder, based on our conversation so far on AI, how Val and Brianna, like, how do you maintain or build trust with your customer while using AI? So if this isn't generation, this is like a live interaction, can you still build trust with your brand through that bot experience?
Yeah, I think if you're honest about the bot experience, we said earlier that customers are very, wary of AI and are kind of always looking for, is that AI? Is that AI? I mean, half of, I think most like Instagram feed, all of the like suggested posts, I'm like, is that AI making this? I don't know if that's a real thing or not. Is that a real bird or is that like AI? So I think if you are just very clear about, hi, I'm a bot. I'm here to help you. I can answer these kinds of questions. Otherwise, you can send an email to our support team and they'll respond to you in the morning, or whatever the next step is if I'm unable to help you as a bot. I think just making that super clear instead of being like, I'm a real person, I'm Sally, and I'm here to help you. That's, people know that you're not a real person. It's a bot. And so just make it very clear that we love to use AI, we love to use robots to make our lives better. I love my Roomba, but I'm not going to expect it to do like the same level of cleaning as I might do, right? So we want to do the same with our AI, is we want to understand what it can do for us and where its limits are. And then maybe it can help us and maybe it can't. But that's all up to what you give it on the other side of the system. So I'd say being very clear about using AI. And then also I don't know, teach your AI to be polite, like teach it responses to, like, if somebody actually says thank you, to give it a response, that feels like really good. So not just giving your bot answers to common questions like FAQs, but also teaching it other ways to react with customers that reflects your brand. Maybe it's a funny joke. Maybe it's something very polite. Maybe it's something formal. It all depends on your brand, but uh, giving it something beyond just the FAQ section is really helpful too.
I love that. That is a great way to start thinking about shaping your brand and who you are um, through your helper bot. Uh,
And just to highlight something that Val said that I find really interesting, to your point, Val, you mentioned like the Roomba. You understand its limitations. You know when like you might need to be the one to go in there and vacuum, or whatever the case may be. You're doing your brand a disservice if you're not upfront about the fact that you're using a bot, because if something goes wrong and they're impatient or the bot messes up, they're just going to like assign that blame to your brand. When you manage expectations up front and say, I'm not actually Sally, like I'm a bot, I'm here to solve X, Y, and Z, but like you said, Val, send an email to our customer support team if you need more support. Like you're able to manage that relationship a lot better. So really, like if you feel like you do have to be dishonest about using a bot, I would question if you should even be using one, because the damage you could do to your brand's reputation and to the trust that you might have built with that consumer, I don't think it's worth the risk. So
I agree.
it is really risky. You could really undo what you're trying to build. Last on our AI tool set, another way to employ AI to help you is through analysis. A lot of platforms today are building AI into their existing tool set that can help you analyze customer data. You can understand behaviors, patterns, trends, and preferences with your customers um, through this analysis of your data. And this can help you make informed decisions, and it can shape your strategy around maybe tests that you set up, or promotions or product offerings based on how people are using them. And for me, this is just like a shortcut, right? Like we know how to do the long form of this, but this can kind of be at your fingertips through these AI tools. I wonder, to close out our conversation with AI, what you both think about approaching personalized journeys through AI. So we talked a little bit about generation and how kind of what to do and what not to do from a brand trust perspective. But like when you think through that end to end journey, how does AI show up?
I mean, I think that that's where as you go through that process of walking through your customer journey, you can not only notice the places where, oh, I should take that email opt-in down because I already opted in on the other page. You can improve what already exists, but you can also look for opportunities to leverage AI on your site, and in that customer journey. So it could be, if somebody is on a product page for X amount of time, or scrolling through maybe you have a very big list of products, of SKUs, and so they're in a category and they're kind of doing a scroll and clicking back and forth, and you can kind of set up a chatbot that appears and says like, hey, how can I help? Can I help you narrow down your choices? Can I learn more about what you're shopping for so that I can try and make some suggestions? You could teach AI to do that, and then set it up so that it appears if they're on a product page for an extended period of time or something like that. I think that those things are really helpful. And actually, that's a practice that I see happening in the SaaS world and software. A lot of software, if you're logged in and you're on a certain page for a period of time, it'll like ping you like, hey, do you need some help? Um, and I think we can apply that on the e-commerce side as well. You do have to train your AI and how to kind of support that personalized shopping journey. But yeah, just as you do that customer journey audit, just notice those places where you could implement AI to improve things. And know that you can take baby steps to get there. It doesn't have to be everything all at once.
All right. I would like to shift into our last topic, automating post-purchase journeys. So I think oftentimes we think about setting up an automation to like get to the sale, but what about after the sale and what does that look like as part of our customer journeys? So we want to retain our seasonal shoppers beyond the one purchase on Black Friday. And this can help boost our customer satisfaction through automations and retention, as well as keeping our brand top of mind throughout the year. A couple of different touch points to think about automating would be order confirmation and tracking. So, this transactional email you're going to send anyway, but can this be an opportunity where you include tips or complimentary suggestions? I bought some like face products the other day, and my order confirmation came with animated GIFs of how to use them. Or a thank you sequence. It's great to express gratitude. I think this is a great practice for your brand. And while you're doing that, you could showcase some related products. Val, when you think about the role of automations in customer retention, how do we stay human throughout these experiences?
Again, it's thinking about that customer journey. So a lot of people think about post-purchase as one entire experience. This is the post-purchase journey. And when we talk about email automations, especially, we talk about those key flows to set up, and one of them is post-purchase. But I actually like to break it up into two at minimum different post-purchase experiences. One is post-purchase pre-delivery. There's a whole period of time. And in some cases, it could be 2 to 3 days. In some, it could be longer. But there's a period of time between hitting buy and the thing showing up at your house where you have questions either about why you spent that money, what you're going to do with it, how you need to prepare for it. So you want to remove that potential buyer's remorse and get them ready for the delivery of the product. In most cases, there's something that they can do, whether it's learning how they're going to use it. One of my favorites is Brooklinen. When somebody buys sheets from them, they tell you that you're going to need to wash them as soon as they arrive. So it kind of helps me prepare, like, okay, well, I'm going to need to make sure I have all my laundry out of the way so that when my sheets arrive, I can put them in the washer so I can use them that night. I'm not going to put them straight in my bed, which I don't think you should from any brand anyways, but that's a different story. But they kind of talk to you about like how to wash them and what you're going to need. And, that might be true for cookware. Like, oh, okay, you need to prepare your pans a certain way, or skincare, it's something you might need that's different that will complement the experience as soon as your product arrives. And then you have the post-purchase that's like post-delivery and onward. That's making sure that they're using it the right way, seeing if they need anything that goes along with that product, if they need any support, like making sure they know how to access your support team, all those things. And referrals, save the referral requests for after they have the product. There's nothing worse than wasting a referral request on someone who hasn't even experienced your product yet. So just save it for later. But really think about those two different pieces of the post-purchase journey, pre-delivery and post-delivery. Your customer is in a totally different mindset in those times. So address that in your sequences.
Yes, thank you. And like you said, review and referral campaigns also can be automated, as well as that next step into a cross-sell or an upsell campaign. And truly everything. Like I feel like where you can have an automation work for you, the topics that we discussed today around loyalty, content, forms, and quizzes, all of these things can be automated, and they're just kind of like little worker automations for you that can keep continued cadence with your customers. So when we, pull out this whole journey and think about how automations play a role in it, Brianna, how do you think about automations as part of this relationship with the brand and with customers? What role do they, I feel like I keep coming back to this question of the customer journey, but how do automations show up for?
Well, it's an important topic for sure. I mean, I think it's probably the most important topic, like when you think about email marketing, especially after a holiday. And quick sidebar before I answer that, while Val was talking, I was thinking about the absurd number of purchases I made over the past couple of days. I feel like I was in like a bit of a fever
Yeah.
dream. And I was thinking about all of the companies that I purchased from for the first time who just overloaded me with coupons right after I purchased, like 15% off your next order, 25% off your next one. Like, I don't even know you yet. Like, my purchase won't be here for probably 2 weeks. So I just think it's really interesting how there aren't just two goalposts. It's not just getting the customer to convert and then getting them to convert again. It's like the experience along the way too. There are so many other opportunities for them to engage with me and to prepare me for these purchases, some of which I'm regretting because I spent a lot of money. But it's just an interesting look, I think, at how you continue to see your customer as a real person, which I think has been one of the, like, themes throughout this whole conversation. Yes, it's online. Like, yes, this is all digital, but these are still real humans spending hard-earned money. So how do we like continue to engage with them and create an experience that's like welcoming and I don't know, just really promotes retention. So to answer your question, with that in mind, automations, in my opinion, are incredibly useful, right? It kind of goes back to the AI conversation, like makes us more efficient. We can use all the data that we're gathering along the way about the customer journey, about their like purchase cycles. But it's really only impactful when it's providing value to the customer, in my opinion. So understand that first, like as you're mapping out the customer journey, we all know it's never quite as straightforward and crystal clear as when we map it out, but it helps to know like what key points to consider, like where your customers are getting stuck, what questions you can answer, what you can do to prepare them for the purchase or for their order after they purchase, and then go from there. Like based on this, based on the feedback we're getting from customers, based on where people are dropping off the site or how many abandoned carts we have or fill in the blank, like how can we utilize automations to start providing more value, not just what can we do to make our lives easier. So there's overlap for sure, but just keeping that in mind. The customer journey it's going to be different for everybody, but there is still like this trend that you can follow and these themes that you can follow along the way to actually make it an enjoyable experience for your consumer. And I will also say, as you think about automations in the customer journey, loop CS or customer success into the conversation. That, in my opinion, that's like the ultimate cheat code. I remember early in my career, I had a manager who I was working in e-commerce, and my manager was like adamant about it. We're looping in CS, like they're coming to this call. We're going to talk to them about these automations or these emails. You want their opinion on this. And it was so new to me at that point. I'd never really worked so closely with customer success, but we avoided, in my opinion, so many pitfalls and so much learning because they're talking to your customers every day. Like they know so much about them and what their questions are, what their challenges are. And so looping them in as you're building out these automations and as you're thinking about the customer journey I will recommend that forever. So
I do feel like Black Friday is a fever dream. I think that in my brain, I'm like, do I need new linens? Am I traveling? Like, what? Scanning
right.
all the things in my life. Like, should I buy them all right now? Because maybe I should. One thing you started to touch on too, with automations that I think is really important is timing. Like the luxury that you have is that you can assign timing. And as you're thinking through, people just had an overwhelming amount of emails to buy things in the last week. And now they're getting all sorts of emails about joining. Thanks for joining and coupons. You can really sequence that out, like wait a week and have it come at a time that is less overwhelming. As we are closing out our Black Friday, Cyber Monday, holiday sales promotions and thinking about our end of year and moving into 2025, what are things that we need to consider? Like, obviously, we're turning off the light on our Black Friday sale. What are things that what's our little like checklist that we should be going through and making sure we're doing at this period of time?
Are we though? Because I feel like I still see Black Friday is not over. It started in September, it goes till January. Um, But no, I agree. Like there is a shift in tone. There's a shift in urgency too. So you have your abandoned carts could have messaging around shipping cutoff times, because depending on your carrier you use and where your warehouses are, those shipping times could be different, even year to year. So make sure that those very important email messages have the right shipping cutoff times listed in them. Um, it's also important to understand which of your customers came as gift purchasers and who came for themselves, a gift for themselves. And sometimes that's as simple as a quick question in an email, have them click a button, and then that tags them on the back end of this is a gift purchaser, because you'll talk to them differently than you would someone who's a regular customer. If my husband buys me lipstick from my favorite brand, he's not going to buy lipstick or eyeshadow or blush or anything else for some time, right? But I might buy more. So in understanding, to Brianna's point about kind of cadence of emails and the onslaught of requests that we make of our customers after they make a purchase, understanding who those customers are and who they're purchasing for, whether it's themselves or someone else, especially during holiday times, is really important. And quite honestly, there are holidays year round, that people gift for. So I think it's an important piece to consider where that fits into your overall customer journey, no matter the time of year, where you can figure out if somebody is purchasing for themselves or someone else, and then create the customer journey for those gift purchasers who may not want to hear from you 3 times a week, but do want to hear about sales during particular holiday seasons. So, just again, like we've said for the last hour, think about the human beings, think about that real life experience. Consider your digital store to be a in-person store and walk through it. And there's a, a usability test, the grandma test, and I think it's actually a really important test to run for your customer journey as well. Like, have your mom, your grandma go through the process, or someone else's mom or grandma go through the customer journey and see where they get confused, see where there's too much of something or too little of something, where AI is helpful, where it's not, where pop-ups and customization are helpful and where they're not. And then that follow-up experience. Where are they like, whoa, I'm getting way too many emails? And where are they like, I haven't heard from that brand in a minute. Where's my package? So just really understanding, because if that it passes that usability grandma test, it can probably pass most people's tests.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on the timing part, so we all have email and SMS, but to everybody's point from earlier, we as consumers being saturated with communications right now from brands. And so just being cognizant of that, not overloading your consumers with text messages and then sending them an email right after. Take the time to just be intentional about the messages that you're sending, when you're sending them, what the purpose behind them, is. Just keeping that in mind along the way. I think it's really tempting. You have these two outlets where you can reach out to your customers, but those relationships are fragile, and people are protective of their inboxes and protective of their phones. So just being intentional with that. And then also make sure you're keeping an eye on who was a first time customer versus returning, because you'll also want to speak to them differently. There's like a level of care that goes into first time customers with retention versus returning. How do you want to continue to nurture that relationship? So on one hand, that's just helpful to look at from a sales perspective, right? When you're reporting up to your team, but then also just how you want to nurture those relationships. I think there's some interesting learnings if you pay attention to that.
All I can think is like, it's like dating. You want to be like, keep it cool in the beginning. Not too much.
Yeah, just be chill.
Mm-hmm.
Be chill.
It's like that when you're at a restaurant and they bring the food, like a runner brings the food, and then your server comes before you've even taken a bite, and they're like, "How is it?" Like, I don't know. So like consider the cadence and like what's actually happening, for your customers, and adjust your messaging accordingly.
And with that, thank you so much for joining our session today. Val, Brianna, thank you for taking time out of your schedules during the holiday season to discuss our customers with us and share your expert advice. I have a lot of ideas and thoughts and feelings from all of our conversation today. It's been really wonderful. And for all of you tuning in, thank you so much for joining us today.
To learn more about how marketing automation and technology can help you and your business, check out these other videos. Thanks for watching.